Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the February 2025 meeting of the WordPress Web Help Group. We welcome you all. WordPress Web Help is a mutual aid sort of group. If you have a WordPress question, problem, or challenge, or if you're an expert with the knowledge and willingness to share it, we ask that you come here and bring your problems, bring your solutions, come prepared to share your contact information if you're a WordPress provider. That way people know how to get hold of you, and perhaps you might pick up a client or you might pick up a solution, and we'll have some news from our good friend up in Washington, Mike, bring us some WordPress and also Woo, which is certainly more relevant this week than usual in this group. So we've got some guidelines. We ask that all comments and discussions, of course, should be respectful of others. I don't expect anybody here to have a problem with that. We do ask you add a profile photo to your Zoom account so we can still see your face when you turn off your camera. Please raise your virtual hand if you'd like to speak. I don't know that we're going to have a huge problem with that. We've got kind of a light number so far. Mute your microphone when you're not speaking, and we ask that during our speaker presentation, go ahead and put your question in the chat, and we'll address them as appropriate. We might be able to, and I'll defer to Sharon, the main. And by the way, this week we're featuring a presentation by Sharon Yates of Creative Mouse Studios on Woo, formerly WooCommerce. Some basics, maybe some beyond basics. If anybody has any concerns, we also have another pretty serious Woo black belt in our midst. I know he's very modest and usually doesn't consider himself, but I think he knows a lot more than he realizes, and that would be Mike. So type your questions in the chat. We'll be doing some Woo news after Sharon's presentation. So I ask that you might want to hang around for that, because there's been more going on in the Woo world and the WordPress world than usual. And I think that pretty much covers our preamble. We usually like to go around and do some introductions. So at this time, I'll choose people as I see them on my screen. And even though I've got Sharon first, I'm going to let her save her introduction until until her presentation. So let's start with who I see first on my grid here, and that would be Heidi. Heidi, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you are in the world, what it is you do, what brings you to our meeting, what you might be hoping to get from it, that sort of thing. So over to you, Heidi.
Thank you, Edward. My name is Heidi Mouchard, and I'm in Southern California in Orange County. My day job actually is I have a biotech startup and some websites for that, but that's not why I'm here actually today. I'm here because I also set up a website for my mom where she sells poetry books, and it's really small. She hardly sells any books, but I do need WooCommerce, or I guess you said it's called Woo now, to be set up properly and to collect tax from different places. So this is a great interest to me to learn more and find out what changes there are, because I basically dip out for a very long time, then I come back in and I forget how I did anything. So I have to learn it all over again. So anyway, I was just really interested in this topic today. So thank you.
That's the story of my life. How about you, Virginia?
My name is Virginia Brody, and I've been a graphic artist forever, and having a hard time finding anybody who's buying graphic arts because of Canva and YouTube and all that nonsense. So I thought I'd supplement my income with WordPress, and it's kicking my patootie. For one step forward, I do 3 steps back, and I can't get anything made. Right now, I'm fighting with your connection is not private out of Elementor. Right now, I can't get past it. I can't get an answer to what that is. It's something about certificates, but I can't find any explanation how to get a certificate or what.
Well, we might be able to direct some brain power on your problem after our presentation. How's that? Thank you, and good to have you here. The illustrious Mike, I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm just saying, looking forward to not being horrible at this.
I love to learn. We're all on a continuum between absolutely clueless and some level of expertise. So, and in the early days of my association with WordPress, somebody wisely reminded me that in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. There's always somebody that knows more than me, and there's usually somebody I can help. So, and I've been, specifically in the world of WordPress, I've been doing it now for 15 years. So, and it's held up. It's held up. I never feel like I know enough, and I'm kind of okay with it. So, Michael.
Yeah, what was the certificate issue?
So when I try to launch the site, it's a local site. When I try to launch it from Elementor, I get a warning that says your connection is not private, and the HTTPS is red with a line
It's
through it.
an SSL certificate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an
But it's a
SSL.
local
Yeah.
site.
Yeah, that can
And
be.
if it's a local site, you're not going to have HTTPS. It
Yeah.
tells you that when you create the site. Have you seen that before?
Um,
In fact,
right.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, okay. I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
The issue, but you were fortunate to have an Elementor expert here in Sharon, not just Woo. So, but your problem is not really going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
You're right.
So I'm Mike from Spokane. I manage some websites. I run a couple meetups, a weekly Woo Wednesday, and then a monthly WordPress meetup. My skills are more about solving business problems, but business has to have a website, and I got drug into it. And now I've been spending a lot of time with people like Ed and Sharon at these meetups, helping people with their websites, and they're helping me with mine. So always good to be here. Good to be here. And Ed, as always, thank you for hosting.
Thank you, Mike. You're a valued member of this group, and I appreciate your participating always. So I guess that brings us to Gary. Gary, I see your avatar. See a couple chipmunks
Chipmunks.
with a guy hanging out with them. Are you with us? Gary? Earth to Gary, you with us? All right, well, maybe Gary has gone to fix himself a frosty beverage or something. That brings us to me. I am Edward Sanchez. My company is Brass Ring Web Design. I've been building websites since the late 90s, been specializing in WordPress since the mid well, since about 2009, and never looked back. I differentiate myself from most web developers in that I consider myself more of a marketer and a designer than a developer. Yes, I develop websites, but I ask a lot more questions that have to do with marketing. I believe that your website has to be a strong hub for your marketing. And the fact that we're using the term hub implies spokes. The website is where you have your best information, your best pitches, your best product services, everything laid out excellently with strong calls to action and goals, and logical intuition logical navigation that takes care of visitors, whether they're ready to hire you now or hire you later. But also my company makes sure that you have those spokes in place, whatever they might make sense for your business. LinkedIn, email marketing, various social media channels, depending on your product and where your audience gathers. So that's me. That's what I do. And with that, it brings us to Sharon, who is our presenter for the night. And I'm very grateful that she is taking her time to be here and talk to us about Woo, formerly known as WooCommerce. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Okie doke. Well, hi everybody. Do you want me to share my screen now, or?
You can. I'm gonna make sure that that I have the sharing set correctly
Okay.
so that you can, oops, there we go. You should be able to take over. I've got the
Sure.
program logo up or card up for this week at any time that you're ready to start.
Okay.
Take over, but in the meantime, introduce yourself and what it is you do and
Okay.
all that good stuff.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Sharon Yates, and I live in a place called Galveston, which is in Texas, right by the Gulf of Mexico. Actually, I am on the beach, and no, I'm not calling it Gulf of America. It is Gulf of Mexico. Um, I have spent a long Okay, was I muted
Sorry,
that whole time?
I didn't mean to mute you also.
Okay. Y'all did hear me prior to that, right? Okay. Oh, okay. So as Ed said, I have a business called Creative Mouse Studio. It's not plural. I only have one studio. So it is just me and my kitties here with me, and it is so much fun working on websites with clients. But I do specialize in doing e-commerce sites, and most specifically with WooCommerce. I have been doing this for a very long time. Started when we were just programming with HTML, and then CSS came along, and then I've done ASP. I'm not even going to list every script language I've learned, but been through the gamut, and I'm pretty much a self-learner, self-taught. From the time that I did start working on websites and with businesses and their websites. So I've been at it for a long time, and I did work in corporate America for a while, but I decided that I kind of really liked to go out on my own. So I finally pulled the plug and did that. So So that's a little bit about me. Are you ready for me to move on, Ed?
Yeah, just go straight into your presentation. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, so tonight we are going to be talking about getting started with Woo, and I still have to stop myself from saying WooCommerce because last week they just rebranded or launched the rebrand. I shouldn't say they rebranded. They've been doing it for a while, but it's just officially launched last week. So now I need to get used to saying Woo. So we're going to just talk a little bit about launching your online store with freedom. And by freedom, I am going to show you some tips and tricks and give you some reason why that freedom is there for you. I know that WooCommerce, or excuse me, Woo, I know that anytime anyone hears Woo, it is like, what's the talisman? I mean, nobody really likes it. So there's a lot of frustration with Woo and people don't understand it and stuff. But and I don't think you have to be special to understand it. I just think that there are some things that maybe we all need a little extra help with because, you know, we didn't write the program, so we have to learn how to work with it. So I pretty much can skip this. We kind of already talked about all of this stuff, but you can find me on my website, at LinkedIn. I have a business page on LinkedIn and a business page on Facebook and Instagram. And I don't have it listed here, but I'm also on X now, another rebranded X. But I do have that. I think I remember just updating one of my last slides today with the X link. So I'll make sure we'll talk about that later. Okay. Before we get into Woo, I just thought we would talk a little bit about a question that is most often asked because we have all seen the commercials for Shopify, but we don't see commercials about Woo. So the question is, why choose Woo over Shopify? And there's a lot of reasons why you want to do that. First of all, you actually have full ownership and control of your site. With Woo, you own your site, you own your data and your hosting. And by that way, you avoid Shopify's transaction fees and their platform restrictions. You also get to have unlimited customization. Remember that Woo is open source. This will allow you, allowing you total design and functionality flexibility, unlike Shopify's more rigid ecosystem. There's also cost-effective and scalable. There's no mandatory monthly fees, plus access to thousands of free and premium plugins to grow your store your way. And then you also want to think about the seamless WordPress integration. Woo is built for WordPress, doesn't impose restrictions on the number of products or variations or revenue that you generate. And you also are going to have more payment gateway, sorry, I think I'm one late here, more payment gateway freedom. Woo supports a wider range of payment gateways without extra fees, unlike Shopify, which charges fees for third-party gateways. So these are reasons you want to think about. And then for those of you that may be looking at, if you're an agency or a freelancer, you might want to offer Woo as a service. I just thought I would throw this in. Why would you do it? Understand that e-commerce is in high demand. More businesses want to sell online, and Woo is a great way to help them. It is affordable for your clients and profitable for you. So unlike Shopify's monthly fees, Woo is free, and so clients can spend more on your services. And you also control the project. There's no platform restrictions. You can build exactly what your clients need without limits. There's also endless customization options. You can, offer design functionality or your plugin customizations to stand out from other developers. And then you also have a supportive developer community. There's tons of tutorials and forums and resources to help you grow your skills with Woo. So now that we know that, and as a beginner looking at starting with Woo, when you're going to start or you think you want to start a Woo project, you are going to want to know some basic information at least. And let me just explain that. E-commerce is not to be taken lightly. It is a huge business. Everyone wants in it, wants in on it. And everyone thinks that they can build their own site. A lot of my customers, I can tell you, come from people thought that they could do it on their own, but frustration sets in, and that's where I make the money. So my advice, and this is just my advice, it's not, anything I read anywhere. It's just kind of knowledge that I've kind of experienced and put together. And I also do some educational training about Woo. So these are just some of my tips that I want to pass on. So I would say you want to become a WordPress expert first. And this doesn't mean expert meaning, oh, you know everything about WordPress. The reason why I say you want to be a WordPress expert is because when you have to troubleshoot something, you do need to know whether it's a WordPress issue or a Woo issue or any other plugin issue. So by knowing WordPress and where you're seeing the details of an issue you might come across, you can determine where to start your troubleshooting. And you also want to ask questions, not only if this is for a client, but also for yourself. You need to ask yourself some questions about starting your project. And I'm going to give you a few that I often have, but if you don't have a list of questions to ask, start making one. And my list, I think as of today, I started with 20, and I know I now have more than 20 plus questions, but I usually keep a running list of questions because they are very important to not only ask the questions of clients, but also ask the questions of yourself. So I have a few that I just want to suggest out. Is this a brand new site or is an existing site? So if you're having a client come to you, you definitely want to ask that, because there's going to be a lot of things that you need to prepare for. If it's a brand new site, you need to know, do they have a domain? Do they have a brand? So there's going to be a difference that between a new site and an existing site. And then also one of the questions that I always ask is, where will you be selling? Are you selling just in your country? Are you trying to sell across, globally? This is going to affect language and currency. And then also, what will you be selling? Are you going to sell physical goods, digital project products, or services, or events? So all of these are different, and all of these are different how we set them up as well. And also, are you going to be selling subscriptions or memberships? Because you can also sell those. And then also taxes is also a big issue. I think Hedy, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but she was mentioned that, yes, taxes, you have to know whether or not you're required to collect taxes. So that's a big question you also need to ask and know the answer to. A lot of people, if it's a big business, they have a tax attorney, but most of us don't. So, if you have a way to educate yourself about that, definitely do your research on that. And then another important question is if you're going to be shipping any products, because there's also considerations about the way that you set up shipping. You definitely want to make sure you're either charging for it or recouping that somehow. Okay. So your next thing that you're going to look at is choosing a web host for a Woo website. It is not the same as hosting a website that does no transactions. And that would be referred to as a static website. A static website is not a Woo website or e-commerce. So start doing your research on the best hosting platforms that you can find. And the number one rule I have that I tell everyone, do not host with GoDaddy. I've been there, done that. You don't want to do that. GoDaddy is not a WooCommerce. If I had to say they had to be certified, GoDaddy would never be a certified WooCommerce host. So save yourself the headache. Don't host on GoDaddy. So if you're rebuilding a website, you want to make sure you get the analytics on the previous site traffic, because this is going to help you also determine what level of hosting you need to purchase, because there is a difference. It's not, as I said before, it is not a static website. So a static website is going to use less space and less traffic, less bandwidth. So, but a Woo site, as I said, is transactional and it's going to need more resources. So you also want to make sure you have the ability to have a staging site. A lot of people don't even understand what a staging site is. They just have their static site on, on one product. It's called production site. But with Woo, because it's transactional, you're going to want to have a staging site to be able to develop on and make changes to, because you do not want to do this in your production environment. And then if you are familiar with enterprise development and version control, go the extra mile to have a third, what I would call a third server, a dev site, a staging site, and a production environment. And not a lot of people have been through this or learned it. It's something that corporate America does in most of their development environments. And you probably won't find anyone that does that, but I know one company that does do that. So I can tell you that. And this can also be kind of expensive, since most plugins don't consider you having 3 environments, okay? So here's a list of recommendations. I'm not going to say who's better or who's worse, but these are the ones that I can recommend that you can at least try and look at pricing, see if it fits in your realm. Rocket.net is good. Liquid Web and Nexus are kind of the same company, although they do have separate sites, but both of them come from the same place. A2 Hosting I've been with for years. I just recently moved to Rocket.net and closed my A2 hosting down, but I have never had a problem with A2 hosting in my websites on there. A lot of people are familiar with WP Engine and they think it's the best thing in the world. I can't speak to WP Engine, and Flywheel is also owned by WP Engine because a lot of people used to use Flywheel. But I do know a lot of people that use it. I think there's some things going on now. I'm not going to get into that either. But, like I said, do your research. I've never used SiteGround, but I have had customers use SiteGround. And I know others that are hosting a Woo site on SiteGround as well. Pantheon is the provider that actually has a three development environment. They do have you start at a dev server, and then you move to staging and then production. So they do have that environment already in place, and it is a little expensive. But if you get a client that is, or yourself, even if you run a store that is highly trafficked, you definitely, it'd probably be worth your money to invest in that type of server, because they are very good. I don't think I ran into any problems when I was with them, but I had a very large client that I needed that kind of service for. Um, so with that said, oh, and I know someone else that uses Kinsta as well, and I haven't heard any bad reports on Kinsta. So they are also a possibility. So to wrap that up, just remember, do not buy shared hosting for a Woo website. You want to look for managed WooCommerce hosting. And I'm sorry, I said WooCommerce. Woo, it's Woo. So this will save you a lot of time and late nights. Remember that I said Woo is a transactional app and that it needs more resources. So be sure you do that. And what was my advice? Do not host on GoDaddy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some must-have plugins for Woo. And this is not the be-all list. In fact, it's not even, it may not even be plugins that you need, but these are advisable to have. Yeah. So you definitely want to be able to offer, a payment gateway plugin, and most people, depending on your client and who they're banking with or how they're receiving payments. But most of us who are in the small business category, we either use Stripe or PayPal, or even I have a client that uses authorize.net, and that is sometimes what the banks will recommend, that plugin. So all right, Gary, you're are doing something on the presentation. So let's see. So anyway, this, your WooCommerce, being able to provide that plugin, it simplifies the payment processing without other third-party gateways. And the Stripe is a great alternative for seamless payments. You also are going to want an SEO plugin, and this helps optimize your product pages for search engines. You definitely want something like that. And there's a few out there. People are going to recommend you different ones. I think, Mike, what's the one in our community? Is it Simple SEO or SEO Simplified? I forget the name of it.
Slim SEO.
Slim SEO. Thank you.
Rank Math, but Rank Math's got problems now. AI.
Yeah.
Slim
Yeah.
is the one that seems to be the best.
Yeah, you'll hear, so the most popular ones you'll hear is, Yoast SEO and Rank Math, and there used to be, I think it was called All-in-One SEO, but there's that new one that Mike just mentioned that might be a little better. You're also going to possibly want to find a cart abandonment recovery plugin, which this will help recover lost sales by reminding users to complete their purchases. I'm sure you might have seen something like this when you shop. You might have been on a website shopping for something and put it in a cart, but then you might have gotten distracted or walked away and didn't purchase. And you'll get, next thing you know, you have an email and you might say, hey, you left something behind. So this is what a cart abandonment recovery plugin will do for you. It helps remind people you need to spend some money. And also earlier I mentioned that you might want to also sell subscriptions. So if clients want to sell recurring products like memberships, I know there's, excuse me, I'm going to combine the two actually. So I'm calling it subscriptions, and Woo does have a subscription plugin. They also have a membership plugin, but what I'm going to tell you, there's no need to buy both. You can sell memberships with a subscription plugin. So save yourself some money because the WooCommerce plugins are expensive. And also, don't forget about your shipping and taxes. You're definitely, if you're going to be shipping stuff, you're definitely going to need to have a shipping plugin that will help you with figuring your charges. You may have a FedEx or a UPS or some kind of delivery account on your company business that you want to attach it to your Woo site. Taxes the same way. If you're in a state that requires taxes, you do need to make sure you are collecting those. So, common mistakes beginners make with Woo. This is just a few, not a lot. I don't know everybody that works with Woo, but the beginners, these are oftentimes I hear this when I have students coming to me. So choosing a cheap shared hosting that slows down their store, and that's to be expected because if you choose a cheap host, then you're not going to get a good store. Ignoring security best practices, not including an SSL. And I think it's very hard not to include an SSL these days because most of the web hosts include that in your account. So I think this is kind of the old way of SSL processing. But also weak passwords or no backups. These are very important. You need to make sure. Some of my clients, if they are doing sales on a daily basis, I will make sure their store is backed up every hour. So because if something happens and you need to do a restore, it's very hard to go back and get a daily backup and get all those sales because you're going to miss them. So doing backups on a store every hour will kind of help prevent some of those headaches. Using too many unnecessary plugins that slow down performance. Now, as a beginner, you're not going to know how many plugins is too many, but you will need to research how. Let me see, how do I say this? How that plugin will help you, and is it going to be able to work with all the other plugins that you have installed? This is a subject area that I can't expound on because it just depends on what you need. I've had a client that I think I had 70 plugins, but what I started doing, because I didn't like that, you did need the capabilities of those plugins, but what I started doing is learning how to create some programming for their needs so that we wouldn't have so many plugins. And once I learned how to start taking those plugins and creating special programs for them, then the site started working better. So there's a trade-off. If you want to spend the time learning how to do that or just relying on plugins, but it's a lot easier to learn how to make decisions to make that site performance a little bit better, because a lot of plugins is going to use resources and you don't know sometimes where your troubleshooting is going to take place either, which could take a lot of hours if you have to figure out something in a plugin. Also, not optimizing your images. This can lead to slow load times. So that's very important to make sure those images are optimized. Okay, so if you're looking to add Woo as a service, I thought I would throw in, okay, how do you find Woo clients? Obviously, everybody has a lot of ways. Ed's in marketing. He probably can tell you the best way to get your CTAs up and your lead generation and all that stuff. But if you're just starting out, it's almost, like crickets sometimes. So there's ways for you to find, starting out work. Go to the freelance platforms. I'm sure you've heard of Upwork, Fiverr, Codeable, or TopTal. You can also make sure you include networking and local businesses. This is really a big area that people overlook sometimes just because they don't want to get out. Many small businesses need e-commerce, but they don't know where to start. Also, on your website, you can do content and blogging. Writing Woo tutorials can attract potential clients. And also, a WordPress meetup or groups like the one, like Facebook groups. I got a lot of clients through Facebook groups that I was in. So you never know where you're going to meet people who needs help and how you can help them. So I would do a lot of posting in Facebook. I don't claim to have a lot of time to be on Facebook. In fact, I barely get on Facebook, but but when I am there, I usually try to help people and answer their questions. And people remember who you are, and they will come and ask you. Sometimes they'll be a really big client. So, and like I said, Facebook groups. Okay, and here's some resources and learning paths that will help you. Of course, this is a WooCommerce documentation. They have this Start Woo in 5 steps. I was going to say, I can't say that you'll learn all of Woo in those 5 steps, but it's a good start. It's a good start for you to do something like this.
Are you able to put any of those links in the chat?
I can, yes.
Whenever.
I will do that for you. Let's get that. Where's the chat? Hold on a minute. I gotta find my chat.
You can do it at the end. Just don't forget to.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess up the flow of your presentation.
We're almost at the end, but this is the presentation. I will have a live demo, so it's probably better if I. A lot of people don't like WP Beginner, but I do find a lot of helpful resources there sometimes. Hold on a minute. And you can't go wrong with learning something. So, and this one is just there. You can start it. Now this one, be patient. This is their entire documentation on getting started. And you can see they have a lot of categories. So I would say, if you are starting out, you definitely, you want to be able to do your installation and updating. You're learning about your settings and what kind of options you have. And it definitely, you need to know how to set up your products. Selling products, you're going to really spend a lot of time in that area because that is your goal, is to sell your products. So there's a lot of stuff that goes with that, though. Okay, get back over here. Oh, and YouTube, of course. I don't want to leave out YouTube. You can find all kinds of stuff on YouTube. Okay, so now I'm just going to give you a live demo. And this will also help Virginia with her answer. Because, Virginia, I also have a local site that I'm working with that I will show you. So in your local, do you see this SSL? It says, note, your HTTPS is not available when using the localhost routing mode. This is why you're getting that message, because on your local machine, you do not have SSL. And I've actually researched this, trying to get it, And my friend who is not here tonight told me, oh, you can do that. You can do this. But I can't. I finally realized you can only do it if you are a WP Engine um, customer, because somehow the local connects with your WP Engine. I've never used WP Engine. I'm not a WP Engine customer. So I just finally gave up. It didn't matter to me. But I am going to work on this. There's just some things that, because it's a Woo site, it's going to be expecting that SSL and it's not going to be there. But I know that, I know, okay, I'm working on my local. I don't need it to be SSL. But obviously, when you go to host your website, you want to make sure you have an SSL. Okay. So you can work here, no problem. There's just some things you won't be able to do. And I'm trying to remember what those are. But I'm trying to get to my window. Hold on a minute. I've got too many things open here. I should probably start shutting them down so I can, I need this window here. There we go. We'll go over here. Because you see here, now that I'm in there, see, this is what it's given. It's a local host site. It's not an HTTPS site. So this is why you're getting that message. Okay. Does that make sense to you? And this is probably why you can't find it. Okay. And Mike, is that what you think is her issue too?
Are you talking about her lack of an SL certificate on a staging site?
No, not staging. She said it's on her local machine.
Yeah, I couldn't say for sure. If she's staging it locally, she can put something like really simple SSL or something and probably get there. But I don't know that she would want to do that with WooCommerce on a local box like that.
No,
I
no,
really, I mean, you could go use local or studio or some of these free staging sites and do it in that environment. But it's best to do it stage in the hosting environment where it's going to be live. So if you're going
right.
to use SiteGround, or if you're going, because then you're in that environment. When you migrate from one hosting service to another or from local onto it, you could have problems, right?
Yeah,
Probably be okay, but
right.
I did want to make a couple of comments about the hosting in general, and also
Okay.
for those of the people that are doing this, and I think Sharon's probably going to get there. If you're just starting out, I strongly recommend using the onboarding wizard that Woo provides. So if it'll take you through all the steps and you can figure it out. And if you have any problems, you come to meetups like this or Sharon's Meetup or Woo Wednesday, and there's a bunch of them, and they can help with the details. But if you've never done it before, use that wizard. The second reason why cheap hosting is so important, the hosting is so important, as Sharon was alluding to, is it's a security thing. If you have an e-commerce site, you become a target. The other thing is WooCommerce can be a little bit, it can consume resources a lot. So if you get 3 or 4 people hitting your website at one time, it could be minutes before, if you're using cheap hosting. So you got a security issue, you have a performance issue. Now, if you're on a budget and you're just starting out, cheap hosting will probably work as you're setting it up. But you can start getting any kind of traffic at all, you're going to have some real problems. Plus, you're a target. Anyway, sorry, Sharon.
That is
Let you get
all.
back to your business there.
That's definitely good additional advice. So I've got just a fresh WordPress install here. Has nothing. As you can see, I have no plugins installed. For the themes, we're going to talk about that, but I have nothing but the default, which is 2025 now. And always, you're probably wondering, well, why don't I have 2024? Because it was before 2025. But as you know, if you know WordPress, after 2021, everything went to Gutenberg, the block editors. So I tend to use 2021 as a and it's a last resort. It's not going to become my thing. It's just a last resort, and it's one that works well. So I want something that's dependable. I'm not going to use a page builder for this because we're just looking at Woo. I'm just going to introduce some pieces that we're going to be looking at as a Woo beginner, but we will talk about a Woo theme as well. But so the first thing that we're going to do is add our Woo plugin, and you just want to go up to your search plugins, and I'm just going to type Woo since that's supposed to be its name now. And there it is. So what surprised me is that they have the logo Woo, but the name is still WooCommerce. I get entertained a little bit, so sorry about that. All right, so we're gonna wait for that to install, which, by the way, since I am working on my local and we are on Zoom, so things may take a little longer than they normally do to install. I've noticed this throughout all Zoom presentations. They take too long. So, and then I'm going to activate it. Okay, did I activate it? To make sure. Let's look at our install plugins. There it is. Okay. So we have our Woo, and now you also see this message here. So it knows, the Woo knows you're not on a secure connection. So yeah, but as long as we know we're on our local environment, we're not posting anywhere. Yeah, make sure you're doing it right. Okay, so now you see that we have a Woo tab in our dashboard.
Hey, Edward from Brass Ring Web Design popping in for a sec to tell you how we can help your DIY website project by making your website effective, not just pretty. At Brass Ring, we take a big picture approach to digital marketing, building a strong foundation that drives long-term growth. We use our hub and spoke traffic model. Yes, of course, we design high-performing WordPress websites that serve as your central marketing hub. We also coordinate traffic to it from key platforms like email marketing, SEO, social media, and ads. We align every aspect of your digital presence for lasting success. More than just ad managers, we're your partner, optimizing the entire customer journey to better use your time and marketing investment and deliver lasting value. Training and coaching you along the way means you continue to save DIY money and retain control. And now, back to our meeting.
Okay, and when I clicked on that, it automatically started the 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 guided setup that Woo has, and it will take you through a process. I normally skip it, but just to kind of give you guys a glance at it, you can always get back to it. You can skip it and come back to this. It's always available to you. So it's just going to walk you through setting up your store. And you have three options here. You can tell Woo, well, I'm just starting it, or I may be already selling, but have no idea what I'm doing. Or I'm setting up for a client. Normally that's the one I'm doing, but let's just say that we're setting up our own business here, and we're going to select continue. So you want to possibly already know what your store name is. And I should have planned for that too. I didn't even think about that when I was setting this up. Let's just leave that I have Woo Education in there. So, and it's going to ask what type of products are you selling. These by all means, is your category may not be in here. It may be, it's just up to you. If it's not, just choose other. And I'm going to choose education and learning since this is my Woo education. And it already knows that I'm in Texas. How does it know that? This is too many Big Brother stuff. So, but it's actually getting that from my WordPress setup. So, okay. I'm not going to opt in, so we're going to continue this. And then it's going to kind of give you this free feature stuff. I would recommend just unchecking all of it because we are going to do our own thing, especially this get paid with Woo payments. That is a I want to be politically correct, but I will tell you, WooCommerce is pushing that on you. You don't need like I mentioned in my presentation, there's a Stripe payment gateway, there's a PayPal payment gateway. I'm sorry, I'm losing my thoughts here. PayPal. So we don't need to go through the Woo payments. We already know what we're going to be working with, and we can download those plugins. We're not ready to do, and thank God they separated this. Back in the day when Woo was, I don't know, I think it's only been a year, Mike, that they finally quit making us install Jetpack.
Yeah.
It might be 2 years. I can't remember, but
WooCommerce payments is really an overlay on top of Stripe. And most of your advanced developers say just use Stripe. But
yeah.
you should consider, or do you have a lot of live sales, or if you're mostly on the internet? Because people that go to farmers markets and they're in the field quite a bit, Square seems to do a little bit better in that area.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's either Square or Stripe. PayPal's expensive, and a lot of people are crypto. But I'm with you, Sharon. You really don't need Woo payments. You might as well just use Stripe.
Yeah.
Is that what you were asking? I'm sorry if I
Yeah.
didn't
Right.
track. Yeah.
Well, and that's the whole reason why I'm trying to give you advice in that, because as a beginner, you don't know unless someone like me has told you or given you step by step, what you do need to do, what you don't need to do. But you definitely don't need to check all these and have all of this installed when you don't even know what you're doing yet. So start, what's the word, KISS, keep it simple. Do that and then learn by progression. And it may take you a while, but you will get there. You will get there. I this get automatic tax rates with WooCommerce tax. I'm not going to install it because it's going to bug the crap out of me until I do that. And also your shipping labels with WooCommerce shipping. There are other shipping plugins and also tax stuff too. You don't need to use WooCommerce plugins for everything. There are some out there that are free versions, and I always recommend trying the free versions before you're talked into buying the premium version, because a lot of times I find plugins say they do something, and then I install them and they don't do exactly what I wanted them to do. And so I'm like, oh. So, you don't want to get into that because you do waste a lot of time trying to find the right plugin to do exactly what you want it to do. And having a group like us also helps you know, by asking that question. No, has anybody, done, we do that all the time in Mike's group, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'll add a quick insight here. The WooCommerce is owned by Automatic, which owns Jetpack, which is
Yeah.
WordPress.com. And they tend to push their own plugins and stuff. Now, Jetpack is very, very powerful, but it's also bloated and will slow your website down. So some of the WooCommerce plugins won't work without Jetpack. I think it's the tax one is the issue. But there are better plugins that'll work for you. So be aware of that. I mean, most of the developers now are, if you can stay away from Jetpack, try to stay away from it. If you're going to use Woo Tax, you're going to have, I think it's Woo Tax and Shipping. Isn't that the plugin?
Yeah.
You're going to have Jetpack, but there are better options. That's my quick comment.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would add to that that remember, pretty much every plugin offers a premium level, and especially as a newcomer, it can be seductive to be sucked into the, next thing you know, you got premium levels. I got one client who, after we had a presentation on ADA compliance, he went out and invested like $700 on a compliance plugin, which
Yeah.
coincidentally is in litigation right now. But that was a lot of money that had he held off and maybe gotten some, like you say, some advice from people in groups like this, he could have saved that and put it towards a lot of other things, including better hosting and guidance and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's why I say, try the free version first. Don't just go buy the premium. Try out the free version, make sure it's going to do what you want it to do. And then if you want to invest the money, because these plugins, if you haven't experienced it yet, if you haven't worked with Woo yet, the problem is that these plugins, the premium ones, they're usually an annual cost. So, and if you're using, I don't know, 5, 10, or whatever, depending on the cost, your expense is going to add up. So I try to streamline everything. That's one of the things that I learned, especially with a big client. Even though they were paying me money, I still wanted to try to streamline, the cost. I would rather have the money than let them spend it on plugin.
yeah, cost and performance, I mean, especially when you're setting up, say it takes you a couple months to set it up. If you start paying for a premium plugin right from day one,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
you have to be careful in this space too. It's like if you hire someone, they build it and they use premium plugins, and then you don't have them as a developer, you won't have the license,
You
your
won't
site
have,
will
well,
break, and you can't get. So you want to keep it as simple as possible early on. And most
yeah,
of the stuff we're talking about, people that I think they're in this group don't really need a lot of these bells and whistles. And I think Sharon, you were kind of going there. So you don't, a lot of this stuff you really don't need early
you
on.
really don't need, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
make sure you control, well, I mean, control your properties, your web properties.
yeah,
There one of the things that I cringe at is when, and yes, web developers, we find ways of, creating income streams and what have you. But when people take control of your URL or your hosting or various licenses in such a way that should something happen to them, you might be up that formidable creek we talk about. Be careful.
yeah. So, the wizard, now I finally got that word in my mouth. I couldn't remember it before. I'm getting to an age where I forget things sometimes. I don't like that. So in the wizard, you can see our step 2, we've already customized our store. But I'm going to tell you that we really haven't finished customizing it, but that's okay. We're not there yet. But the next step is to add our products. But I'm going to not do that at this point because I think our next step is to get a working theme with our store, because you're going to want to have something that will display your store, and where you can also start customizing and designing that as well. But what I'm going to do is take you through some areas that Woo has affected since our installation. So you'll see here highlighted, we are on the Woo dashboard. We have other tabs underneath it. Orders, this is where our orders are going to display when they come in. It will also have a customers area. And what you need, this is another reason why you need to know WordPress, because these customers will not exist here unless they are also users of WordPress. So when you have somebody come and register for your site, they automatically become a WordPress user. And then once they purchase something, they become a Woo customer. So a lot, I have clients complaining about this all the time. Well, I can see them in the users, but I don't see them in my customer. I said, well, they haven't made a purchase.
Sharon, forgive the interruption. I will point out that we've got 15 minutes left in our
Okay.
meeting, so we may not need to get quite as comprehensive
All right.
with the full setup.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I
Because
know.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm not.
WooCommerce, as we all either know or are seeing, can be
Yeah.
a pretty deep dive. We do live at a time where there are some pretty powerful tutorials and there's a lot of great help. So maybe if you could just hit some of the high points and get us
And I
towards
am. I am.
towards
I'm not going through
conclusion.
everything.
There you go.
The other thing, what I was going to say, your store isn't completely set up because when you come to our settings, you'll see that, there's some things that we still need to fill in. There's questions about our tax. And you see in the settings, we have a lot of areas that we have to look at. The payments, once we install a payment plugin, that will show up here. Again, shipping, we don't even have time to go through all this. As you can see, it's already trying to prompt us. Let's go on to our themes. You do want to find a theme that is e-commerce specific and possibly free until you decide you want to pay for a premium version. And the one that I recommend, oh, wait, I've got to add new theme first. Sorry. You have to click on that new theme. I think it's called, is it store? I can't remember now. Yeah, store. Oh, I was. So I did a search for, sorry?
Storefront, right?
Storefront. Yes, that's the one I want. Thank you. Thank you. So, I did a search for store, but yes, the storefront is the one I know that is free. It's a Woo thing in
It's their
store.
default theme.
Yeah,
WooCommerce, yeah.
there it is. This one. Yes, it's the default theme. It is free. They do have a lot of uh, extensions that you can use depending on what kind of store you're going to run. But I'm going to install this one, and that will be our default store and activate. And one other thing before I leave this, the point that I want to make about WooCommerce, and like we mentioned staging, your theme is also kind of like that too. You need to create a child theme once you have your theme selected. And I'm going to skip that, but you do definitely want, when you have a Woo store, you want to have a child theme, because if you're doing things like writing special customization scripts or plugins or whatever, you want that in the child theme, not the master theme. Okay. So just pretend I have a child theme.
You want to give a quick explanation of child themes, and what it is to use them versus making customizations in the parent theme?
Yeah, but that might take some of my time. So so real quickly.
I can give a quick definition. Basically, the main concern is when it comes time to update. Updates are something that we need to do in the WordPress world, and when you make custom changes to a theme for whatever reason, for functionality, for styling, what have you, if you make it to the parent theme, then when you update the theme, it's going to overwrite. The next theme is going to come along and it's going to be an out-of-the-box version of that theme. So all your custom coding has just been overwritten. By having a child theme, which dovetails with the theme, works hand in hand, the parent theme does not overwrite the child theme. So if you've had any custom tweaks or whatever that you've made to that, it will be left alone, and then it'll continue to work in concert with the parent theme. Hopefully that'll explain it a little bit.
Yeah. And it's things like, design. I always customize the design. I don't ever accept any themes design. I customize everything for my clients. So that all that customization will stay in the child theme. And when the master theme gets updated, it might, if I didn't have a child theme, it would wipe everything I've done out. If it was updating that particular area, like, I don't know. So under pages, there Woo installs I think 4 pages that we want to make sure we're aware of. It installs this cart page, the checkout page. It installs the My Account, and also this shop page. In the settings, we definitely have a way to change how things are displayed, but that's way down the road. I'm not even going to go there yet. And then let's go back to our products. I'm going to show you how to get some sample products, because if you click on products here, this is another thing that we will install, is this product tab and everything underneath it. And you notice we don't have any products. So it gives us, this little thing telling us what we might want to do. But what we're going to do is Woo has a default product that you can import. So, and I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to import. Oh, I have to remember where my product file is. It's going to be on my cloud, that's for sure. And normally I have to talk myself through this, because sometimes it's so long since I've used it last. I have to remember where I put it. And actually, I think I'm in the wrong. Yeah, no, I'm in WordPress. I need to do plugins. And Woo, dummy data. Yeah, this is it. So you notice that it's an XML file, and it doesn't have a lot, but it has enough for you to practice and get started. So I don't have existing products, and there's no reason for me to do advanced options. I'm just going to continue. Oh, it wants a CSV file. Oh, I'm sorry. There is a way to do that. And I actually, hold on a minute. Give me a second. I have a CSV file. I don't know why I picked that. Just give me 1 second just to make sure I know where it's at. Why did it let me pick the XML file if I did it wrong? I'm sorry about that, folks. Yeah. Where's my WooCommerce?
We are going to have to be wrapping it up, I'm afraid, Sharon. We still have to take a few minutes for
Okay.
WordPress news, and we've only
Okay.
got a minute left in the meeting.
Yeah. Well, I can
Perhaps
end it here.
this might
This
be a
is
good
fine.
time. This might be a good time to put your contact info in the chat. And I do invite people to stay after the meeting. I do keep the room open a little after I stop the recording, but we can't have, really long recordings. So, yeah, if you can put it in the chat, I'm going to encourage everybody to save the chat so that way they'll have your contact information.
Okie
So
doke.
go ahead, Sharon. Sorry.
Oh no, I said okay, doke. But thank you. I want to just extend my thanks for having me here, and I appreciate you all listening. I hope you
Yeah.
got something out of it.
No, thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Hey, listen, there's a couple of questions in the chat, and I'd like just to hit them real quick. And I think it was mostly Heidi was asking about security and hosting, and that's the Department of Defense gets hacked. All the biggest financial institutions in the world, 18, they all get hacked. So Better hosting is going to help with the security, but there's other things that you can do to enhance your security profile with certain plugins and certain monitoring, which we can get into at another time. If you come to these websites, we talk security a lot, but the goalposts are always moving. And she also had a question about the best tax or free tax plugins. And I think Cloudflare, or no, TaxCloud has a free module though.
Uh-oh.
Knowing exactly what you're doing and where you're at. Go ahead.
No, you froze
sorry?
up there for a second. You froze up for a second, Mike.
Oh, sorry. The questions she's asking are a little bit open-ended, and you can do a deep dive in all of them. But we all face it. Everybody's, well, how do we deal with compliance? How do we deal with security? How do we deal with that? And that's why these meetups are sort of important, because there's a lot of security and tax questions that are brought out on the floor, and you can sit back and sort of listen. I get it. It's a family website. We pretty much all have them. It's a labor of love, and you can't dump a bunch of money down into it. Now, it looks like you're using SiteGround, and I have SiteGround. I usually have 8 to 12 sites on SiteGround. Usually, I'm spinning them up for politics, something I want to get them off. It is okay. You can do a little bit of e-commerce,
Okay.
but the advanced WooCommerce people don't really like SiteGround, because if you get a lot of traffic or you get a lot of sales, they're resource specific. There are better options, but it's very affordable. And what's nice about SiteGround is you can put, on that one medium account, you can put 7, 8, 9 different websites in there, unless you start getting a lot of traffic, and then they'll want to upgrade you. And the upgrade's not that much, but I get it. You're trying to save a buck. You're not trying to waste money. So I definitely appreciate what you're asking. But it's an open-ended question, and I don't think we have a whole lot of time to get.
Okay.
to spend that right now.
Thank you. I think you just answered it. She said, do not use the shared site. And I just wanted to just get more particulars.
No, I'm not gonna disagree with Sharon. I mean, she's right. If you can avoid it, WordPress optimize.
And for you guys, you're setting up for clients, so you have to. I mean, of course.
Yeah,
for somebody who expects to get traffic, I am getting almost no traffic.
Yeah, you're probably going to be okay with the Sharon.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to contradict Sharon, because you want to take her advice over mine.
But
every day.
I think she probably agrees with you. But
you're trying to save a buck, and you're not getting any real traffic, and you're selling $2 a month or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Trade up. But optimally, she's right? If you can, right?
That's good to know.
And again, remember, I mean, on the internet, success is a product of either time or money. If you've got the time to go through the learning curve and do the work, then yes, I mean, most of us are somewhere on a continuum of expertise. Money is what you pay to either a dedicated WordPress expert and web designer, or the other thing is, this is where it's an extra benefit to have excellent hosting, and where cheap hosting will not serve. Can you do this all without any time or any money? Kind of hard to do. There is 9 billion people on the planet. 355 million of them are in the US. God knows how many websites we're up to now. Most of them are optimized in terms of search engine optimization. So that means that you're vying for some pretty heavy hitters who are selling books in a similar category as you.
You can actually host for completely free, but it's a trade-off. They'll advertise on your site. You won't own your own domain name. You'll have security issues. It's shared hosting. They'll hack your site. It's like there's a lot of reasons why you don't want to use 100% free. You want to own your own domain name, and that gets you to the next level, right?
No,
And so
it exists, and it's actually working pretty well right now. I just want to make sure I'm not being an idiot. Exposing her to anything.
How do you get the traffic organically?
I don't actually need to send traffic to it. It's her name's Mitsu Yamada, and she's actually pretty well known in her little circle. and professors and newspapers and reporters, and people do call constantly. And I just am trying to do right by her, but I don't need more people to call, and she's not trying to sell more books. So it's a really weird situation, and I
Yeah.
totally understand why you haven't addressed this problem before. It's
Yeah.
totally
I
understandable.
just want you to know, I know a lot of people that use SiteGround and they're pretty happy with them,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
it's not the best, right? There are better. And when you
I
grow into it, and so there's pros and cons at every step of the way. And for
yeah,
what you're
they
doing
all
right now, you're
I've,
probably okay.
I've lucked out. I paid $900 for 3 years in that highest level the
Wow.
first
Okay.
year, and I went back in and they said it's, whatever, 3,000 now. And I said, no, I want to pay this much. And they actually lowered the price for me. So just
Yeah,
tip,
I
more tip.
use the middle one, and like I say, at any time I can have a dozen people on there. I think I only have 8 right now,
You
and it
have
works
to keep in
okay.
mind that when you call a hosting company, and some are worse than others, and also they will vary. I mean, there
Yeah.
are some lists that get published in some areas on, top 10 hostings and what have you. You'll see certain companies that fill different, positions on that list and then fall off, and
Yeah.
things will happen. GoDaddy, there was a time when it had a reputation we didn't cringe at, but there's been a lot that's happened since those days. So, but an excellent web host is going to have, remember when you talk to a salesperson, they want to sell you product.
I want to sell
You know,
you. Yep.
they want to cha-ching you. They want to give you fries with that and or onion rings and tacos. And that's the thing. It's not always the best for you. So um, the
Hey,
better
I want to
go.
share something real quick. Like I put a link in the chat, and it's to a list of meetups that are mostly online. And there's several of them that most of us go to, and there's other ones that are not quite as good. But depending on your location and your time zone, the things you're asking comes up in almost all these meetups all the time. And
Mhm.
so
Awesome.
there's a whole list of resources there of meetups that happen where you can just sit and listen to other people hash it out if you have the time. So
You want to do
Yeah.
a quickie
And,
5-10 minute news, Mike?
yeah,
and I do.
you want me?
Hold on, Mike. I just want to say, tell her I do the WooCommerce in Houston. So if you
Yes,
ever want
and
to come to that.
she's on that list. But if you want to put your link directly, because she's kind of
Oh
asking
yeah.
about WooCommerce, I put it in the chat, or I can go get it too. But
Oh, I can get it right now. That's no
yeah,
problem.
yeah,
Oh, this is awesome. I'm looking
yeah.
at this list. This is great.
Yeah, I go to most of them. A couple of them, mileage does vary, but there's about 8 or 10 of them that are really, really good.
Mhm.
And you will learn a lot by just hanging around and listening.
Mhm.
Now, I do run a Woo Wednesday meetup, and that's what
There it
Ed's
is.
asking me to share the news. And each week I do an agenda. Now, I'm building out the current week's now. It's not ready, but last week's, I will go ahead and share it real quick in the chat, the link, and then I'm going to share my screen real quick, like, and I know we're at the end of the session here. So you probably see my screen every week. I got a blog here. You click on the blog. Every week I have a summary of the agenda. And then the meetups is what I just shared previously. But so anyway, last
Thank
Wednesday,
you.
last Wednesdays, his was the meetup. And usually these are the meetups coming up on the week that are of note that people will be interested in. A lot of them has passed. I didn't have Edwards in here because I didn't get the notice until after this meeting had passed. But normally I want to get him in there too. But these are all the good meetups that you can usually find beneficial information. On WooCommerce News, this is a little late. Since this date, there's a new update. It's called 9.6.1, but that's mostly about logo and branding and the new logo. It's really not a substantial one, but there's 8 million plus installs of the free version alone. So it's a pretty established platform. So as I roll down here, they have different updates, and there was a lot with the last update of news and information. And so you can click through to any of these links. They're all hot links. You click through if you want to read about the developer updates, you want to read about the office hours, which is really about stuff coming down. A lot of this is for coders. A lot of this is for developers. But there's
Mhm.
also another side of it, which is they have if you go to WooCommerce, they have the developer blog and then they have the general blog. And the general blog is how do you increase sales and how do you convert and how do you integrate with social media, a lot of that stuff. On the developer side, there people are building plugins, they're building, different applications to help, so there's two worlds. There's sort of a front end and a back end kind of thing. But there's a lot of information at the WooCommerce site, WooCommerce.com. And I also do WordPress news. We're still on 6.71. Most people know where we are. You generally don't want to update the major releases, but the dot releases, like the point one, those are security. Those are patches. Once you go to a major version release, when they have those dot ones, they're fixing stuff. And they're finding vulnerability. So you kind of want to keep your dots up. You really want to keep your themes. You want to get WordPress up, and you want to keep your plugins up. But you
Mhm.
don't want to update the major releases when they come out. You want to give them a few days so they can sort out the problems because stuff will happen. Like WooCommerce in particular, the WooCommerce plugin, you probably want to give it a week before you update it.
And that goes for any sort of software. If you update it, you have just become a beta tester.
Yeah, you're
A little bit.
a
And
guinea pig.
WooCommerce in particular has had problems with their rollouts this last year. I mean, there's a lot going on. They're trying to do a lot. So, and it's a powerful platform, but you don't want to be on the bleeding edge, particularly if you're not a developer. If you don't have,
Especially nowadays, there's more than just technology occupying Matt's attention, let's say.
yeah, that's a side drama. We won't get into that too much right now. Um,
But it does take time. So
Yeah. Anyway, there's usually in these updates, there's usually a malware and security threats and, popular plugins or popular themes get hacked. And so I try to let people know about it. This stuff here, kind of alluding to what Edward was talking about, has to do more with the dispute between WP Engine and Matt Mullenweg, which is the guy who's the WordPress.com, WooCommerce, automatic, it's a big drama court case. Yeah, we won't get into that right now, but it's really affecting the WooCommerce platform and community, stressing a lot of people out.
mm,
Uh, anyway, copyright, a lot of stuff that's happening with AI generate content, AI generate images, AI generated videos. Now, it was that you could not copyright AI generated content, but the Copyright Office is saying no, you actually can, but you have to have human inputs. You're probably not doing a lot of AI generated stuff right now, but it's evolving news. And
I
then
would
every
also,
week,
I just really quick, I would also say that it's affected hosting because, there's a lot of flux in the hosting world, a lot of specials going on and that sort of thing, where people are trying to lure um,
yeah, they're
customers.
they're featuring AI. They're using AI to generate code. They're using AI to generate images. They're using it to detect. You got to be careful because you don't really know all that code, but it's the future. It's just like you can deny crypto, but more and more business is being done in crypto. AI is the same way. It's like you can say, like when I grew up in the 70s, nobody wanted us to use calculators because we wouldn't know math. But anybody that doesn't need calculators, you're only limiting yourself. You can do higher math by if you use the tools, and it's the same thing. It's a tool. There's a saying that goes out there with AI. It says AI will not take your job. Some guys using AI will take your job, right?
Hmm.
Because they're using the tools that are available. Now, this last one, every week, if you go through any of my posts, I usually have a free resource. And a lot of times it's image generation. Sometimes it's about tracking. Sometimes it's security monitoring, whatever. This week I went with Stellar Pay. Stellar Pay is a free plugin and it's integrated with WooCommerce. And I'm not recommending it, but it unlocks functionality in the WooCommerce platform, lets you do a whole lot of stuff. It's probably based on Stripe. Yeah, it's a Stripe integration, but you don't have to pay for this plugin. You can download it. You're still going to have to pay the commissions or whatever. But as far as extending functionality on your WooCommerce site, it looks like a fairly powerful tool. And a lot of times I put these free resources out there so we can talk about it at the meetup and say, yeah, we like it, or no, we don't like it. And usually people like them, but every once in a while say, no, there's something wrong with it. So it's not an endorsement. It's just a free resource that every week I try to have a free tool for people. And that was the news from last Wednesday. I'll have another one come this Wednesday and I'm building it out now as we sit in here.
Cool.
Quick
Nice,
update
very
there.
nice.
All right.
Thank you so much, Michael. I
Yeah.
appreciate you helping out with that. Yeah. And I do recommend Woo Wednesday. I've been trying to be a regular there. There's some high power. If you think Mike is a badass
Yeah.
and Sharon, there are some serious.
We usually get about 20 or so in the group, and it's a nice mix. There's some 4 or 5 very advanced developers, and then we have beginners and intermediates. And all I really do is facilitate. I just, I
You
host
don't
it.
you
Yeah.
don't get there's a minimal of attitude. And people are very willing to offer. I won't say there's no attitude because that wouldn't be accurate. But I
It's
mean,
been
Yeah,
a
that
pretty
would
good
not
group,
be accurate.
and we solve a lot of problems, man. It's very rare that we don't solve problems right on the spot.
Right.
But
that's
anyway, Sharon and Ed contribute. There's a half a dozen other advanced Woo people that are usually there. And then there's the people who are just getting started, right? But the one thing I will say, if you're looking at WordPress and you're just getting into WordPress or you're just getting WooCommerce, don't get discouraged, man. We all go through it, right? Some
yeah.
days it's just like, what is this all Greek, right? But if you just give yourself some time, you let yourself
And
learn,
it doesn't hold still.
yeah.
Sometimes it's like trying to nail soup to the wall. It's like, well, okay, I finally figured this out, and now it's over there.
Yeah, but
Um,
the thing I'm trying to say is it's easy to get discouraged and just give up. But if you just hang around and don't let it overwhelm you and you stick with it, you're going to develop some tools here and you're going to be able to do it a lot, an awful lot, whether it's for your mother or whether it's for your community or whether it's for your nonprofit, or maybe you're actually launching some startups or you got some e-commerce stores. You can get there pretty quick. And we've all been there, right? There's nobody at these meetups that didn't start from zero.
one of the experts there, Eagle, has got a forum that you would benefit from joining, for instance. I mean, some of the best tools that you can gain at a group like that is contact
Yeah.
information for these people.
Thank you
So
for mentioning that. I'm going to go back and share one more. Oh, I can't share.
I
no,
did
yeah, you
in
can.
Virginia. I want to say something to
You can take over, Mike.
Virginia.
Yes,
I just put in a link to our Elementor group. We have just recently changed to a global meetup. So you might want to
There you
look
go.
at joining us when you can.
Yes. So, following what Ed just said, these two events things that start off with are static, and one is Eric from Dallas, which everyone knows is very advanced. He's got probably 100 WooCommerce sites, and then there's this WordPress help desk support. And this is Eagle. Now, if you click there, it's going to go to the list of meetups. So it's a lot like my list of meetups. But if you go to his website, he's got all kinds of free resources to help you to understand DNS, email, hosting recommendations, all that. But what Ed was talking about is he's added a community forum where you can ask questions in real time, and then people that are in the forum they will all respond. And I can't think of right off. Let me just click through here and see where that's at. So is it in it's community? Yeah, I think you click on community. There you go. And now, so people stuff's happening like this postmark's raising prices. That's current for some people. There are conferences going on, but people will ask questions there. And so you have a question, you can lock right into it, or you can come to his meetups that are twice a month, the first Thursday and the third Thursday at 6 o'clock Pacific time. He has a comprehensive news session, and then he has a long help desk. So we recommend Eagle as a very knowledgeable, very generous supporter of the community.
Mike, how did you just get to the window you were at? Because I'm at the help desk meetups listing and it's a bunch of links to the user groups. But how did you get to that page you were just?
Okay, so I just stopped sharing. Let me go back.
Oh, community, you said. Okay. Up
Right.
there.
Oh, yeah, right. At the top, it was communities. I was a little confused about that myself, but okay, you see it now?
Yeah, it's telling me I don't have an account.
Oh,
Well,
right.
you
You have
do
to
have
sign
to
up.
sign up.
Yeah,
You have
You
to
do
sign
have
up.
to
sign up.
You just have to give an email and a password and you're in. You don't have to pass.
I sign up with any one of these groups?
Yeah. Well, you can go to the websites and you can access them for free. It is the community. Am I sharing? I think I am. It is the community portion. Now you can walk around his website. You can go to his resources here, right? And he's got all these articles, analytics, block themes. You can click on any of those. Very, very comprehensive information here. But
This is on his website, but the other one is software. Is a software platform that provides the forum
the
capabilities.
community is an interactive, like if you join the community, you give them the email, you get the password, and now you can post a question on here. Like I can,
Oh,
right? But you have to join first. And I think, what's he using? He's using,
What software is
I
this?
think he's using Fluent.
He's using,
I think he's using Fluent.
yeah, he's using Fluent, yes.
Yeah,
Community.
Fluent is a popular page form, a form plugin for like contact forms, that sort of thing. They also do a pretty good SMT. They're pretty good with their schemas, but they created a community platform where you create your own community with them, and he's using that. And so if you want to, like you got a WooCommerce or you have like your tax question, oh, is there a free tax plugin? Good place to put it. 4 or 5 people will probably respond, or 2 or
And it's
3.
under development, so don't be too,
Yes, this has only been about 2 months.
kind.
Yes, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, he hasn't been, he just started it about a month and a half ago.
So he's a badass in WordPress and WooCommerce. He's becoming a badass.
He lives in Santa Cruz and he runs the San Jose, Santa Cruz WordPress meetups. You'll like him. He's a really nice guy. He's just
He's a good guy.
very, very generous with his time. He's just,
And his
All right,
name
Lawson, I'm going to
Eagle?
take us towards
he
his.
goes by Eagle, right? Eagle.
You actually call him Eagle,
Yeah,
like that's his name. Okay.
We just call him Eagle. I think I've
I don't
seen
know.
his actual name, but Eagle.
I call him Rembrandt because of his avatar, but he's a good guy, knows his stuff, and he's very willing to share it.
Yeah.
Like I say, the generosity in these groups is tremendous. It's really magnificent. And on that note, speaking of generosity, I want to thank all of you for being generous with your time, starting with Sharon, of course, our feature presenter, for bringing Woo to us, formerly WooCommerce. Thank you very much. I wish we would have had more time for you to be more comprehensive, because I know you would have taken us into some informative areas. And always, Mike, I'm always very grateful to you, the rest of you folks. Thanks for being here. The replay ought to be up as soon as I put it up. We'll see what the next couple days have for me. And make sure that you share, you subscribe, you share the replay. If you know anybody who might benefit from Sharon's presentation and knowing about our group, let them know. And with that, I will be ending our recording. However, I'm not going to close the room just yet, so you don't have to, you don't have to take off. Just give me a moment, and we will end this session.